Welcome, dear friends of Books and Voices of Revelation. Below, we have the narration of the following audiobook series, Pioneers of Faith. Episode 9. Willis Collins Hoover, father of Pentecostalism in Chile, 1856 and 1936. Born on July 20, 1856, in Freeport, Illinois, to Methodist parents, Willis Collins Hoover practiced medicine and architecture. In 1884, he repeatedly received what he called a strong inner impression, South America. When Hoover realized that God was calling him to the mission fields of South America, he told the Lord that he would go as soon as he paid his debts. And he found a wife. In 1888, Hoover married. Hoover went to Chile as a Methodist missionary, received the baptism of the Holy Spirit, and founded the Pentecostal movement in Chile. He formed one of the largest evangelical groups in Latin America. Although he had no formal training in theology, he obtained an appointment in 1889 as rector of the English School of Iquique in northern Chile under the almost independent mission of Methodist Bishop William Taylor. He soon began his studies for ordination. From serving in a small Spanish-speaking congregation in Iquique, Hoover was promoted to superintendent of the Iquique district when Chile was divided into 3 areas in 1897 and was appointed pastor in Valparaiso, the conference's largest church, in 1902. Hoover expanded his evangelistic drive to include branch chapels, class meetings, house-to-house visits, and cabin meetings. He kept abreast of activities in the church around the world as much as possible. He read about Evan Roberts, 1878 and 1947, in Wales, and A.B. Simpson, 1843 and 1919, in the United States. He learned about the Pentecostal outpouring in India through the book of a former classmate of his wife's, Minnie F. Abrams's baptism of the Holy Spirit, and Fire told of a revival among widows and orphans in a school and home run by an upper caste Indian where Miss Abrams was working at the time. After reading this book, Hoover asked others about the Pentecostal outpouring, which, with the exception of tongues, differed little from the emotional expression of pioneer Methodism. It was during this time that Hoover and his wife also heard from a friend in Oak Park, Illinois, who had experienced the baptism of the Holy Spirit with the evidence of speaking in other tongues. Hoover's Pentecostal activities and those of Nellie Laidlaw, a new convert and prophetess whom he had supported, cost him the superintendence but not the pulpit at the Valparaiso Conference of 1910. Beginning May 1, 1910, however, Hoover resigned ministry and membership in the Methodist Episcopal Church, taking with him most of his own congregation and 2 others. He reorganized his congregation into what he called the National Methodist Church, which experienced tremendous growth. When this movement split in 1932, Hoover established the Evangelical Pentecostal Church of Chile, which he led until his death 4 years later. When Hoover built his first church in Chile with a capacity of 1,200 people, his congregation at the time numbered less than 500. He often prayed, "Lord, don't let this building mock us. We are building it to save sinners. You must fill it out," according to his own writings. Hoover's work was not without opposition from Christians and collaborators, as well as unbelievers. Newspaper headlines called him the great impostor, hypnotist, and suggestionist. The public slander against the baptism of the Holy Spirit was severe, so I knew that this persecution was not personal but for the sake of the word. In the year following Hoover's separation from the Methodist Episcopal Church, his congregation added 150 new members. Board members and some members of the congregation left Hoover's church to begin new works, thus multiplying Hoover's influence. Not only were people being baptized in the Holy Spirit, but supernatural healings were also taking place. For example, people were healed of smallpox and freed from madness. However, Hoover's primary focus remained the transformation of lives. Tried and tested on the mission field, Hoover and his wife fell ill with typhoid fever. In addition, they went through a smallpox epidemic in which between 50 and 100 people died daily and experienced an earthquake. More than 2,000 people died in the quake, but Mrs. Hoover was able to rush home from a prayer meeting and pull her children outside just before the roof collapsed. Hoover translated hundreds of hymns into Spanish, which are still used today. He was a Pentecost apostle to an entire nation. The end. End of this wonderful read.